Hi guys, welcome back to Marvel Contest of Champions, and the good old man, Marvel Contest of Champions Strokos, has delivered some fantastic abilities, bio and attacks for Carnage and Punisher 2019. So these are the abilities leaked. And what I like, first off, is the bio. I mean, obviously, I'm a big critic when it comes to Kabam doing bios for Marvel Contest of Champions characters. Let me have a go at it, guys. I can give you some bios. I'll do the research just to make them a little bit more interesting and kind of larger chunk. So obviously it's Jake Gallows that we're expecting, as I hoped. Even though he kind of looks a bit like Frank Castle in the kind of modelling, they could have given him a bit more of a kind of a wider face, maybe give him a tan or something. But this kind of rugged look of futuristic nature does really put it into more of a 2099, because when they did the comic book, it did actually kind of look a bit like we were in the 1970s trying to depict what it'd be like in the future. So hey, you know, it is what it is, and it's a good looking character. And obviously, like standard Punisher, we're gonna see some gunslinging action, especially from the L1 and the L2. One thing that I really like about the L3 is, and for you wrestling aficionados out there, all I can really say is that Punisher 2099 is going to delete the competition, delete, and render the other champions obsolete. So a lot of people won't have a clue of what I just did there, but having final deletion, it's like a funny nod to Matt Hardy's Broken Brilliance in TNA. Impact Wrestling, and search it up if you know what I mean. I haven't lost my mind. It's just a pretty funny thing to see something that I watch on a personal kind of way, to then see it kind of something similar being in the game, or delete the competition with the final deletion. So Punisher 2099's signature ability is all about nanotech and a nanotech battery. Obviously, the more charges you get, the more kind of damage you're going to do to the enemy, or more punishment you're going to give to the enemy, whether or not it's debuffing, whether or not it's power kind of not locking but power stopping. I guess power locking, no, it's kind of power punishing, because there is points where you can get the enemy can still get 10% of their power still made, or built up even, but it's not as kind of, I'd say, powerful as a power lock, because obviously a power lock stops gaining power. The only real way to explain the abilities is to kind of describe the nanotech as the charging aspect. So you've got the nanotech battery, it's strapped to your back. You see an enemy, you say it against Groot or Old Man Logan, then because the enemy's got buffs, you're then going to get something as well. You're going to get some charge. So this kind of really does imply that the champion should be tech, because the idea that, well, this is tech, this is significant tech. And so you're charging a battery, and what does your battery charge up mean? Well, according to the disintegration side of things, if I can say that word right, you're then dealing direct damage over X seconds and reducing the power gain rate by 90%. Not as substantial as complete power lock with other characters, but still, it's nice to kind of see that a champion of a tech variety is getting a significant amount of, well, a speculatively tech champion, should be tech champion, is getting this kind of major debuff. If you look at characters like Winter Soldier, who is a skill, then it could be argued that this character will pick up on the same vein and get that skill. But it seems more likely, and it should be, because the tech line does need a little bit of a boosteroonie. Straight off the bat with his nanotech automatic effects, insane. You get a regeneration buff if you're the enemy, and you're like, oh, okay, and then boom, you're then hit by a drain of the battery, and then boom, you hit him with a heal block. Like, oh man, it's like you didn't see that coming. The next thing is that the debuff reapplies itself. Man, it's just that is really, really cool. Like, you don't have to hit the enemy and then boom, it reapplies itself. That's kind of taking the game in a real kind of, I'd say, different direction, in that you don't have to hit the opponent, which is kind of good. Obviously, you could say that it's a bit tad lazy, but at the same time, fresh thinking, good, I welcome it. But the next thing is that he gets a regeneration himself. So the battery's drained entirely, allowing Punisher to regenerate X health over X seconds. Obviously, it's based on percentage drained. So on the amount of battery drained is the most that's then reapplied. So I don't know how they would work out the battery. That's something they've really got to work out. Like, is the battery worth 10,000 kind of... we'll kind of treat batteries and energy as units. So like, say, if you have 5,000 unit of energy in the battery, then theoretically, do you get 5,000 health back? I think just finding out a bit more about that would be pretty amazing. But still, the idea that you've got a Punisher that regenerates, a regenerating Punisher. My God, when I started off this game like 2 years ago, the kind of concept of something so out of the realms of believable was just not there. This is really exciting. I'm quite stoked for this. But heavy attack as well, a stun off the heavy attack, an instant stun. But the thing is, that's a good idea, because what you could do is a continuous stun, similar to, and if you follow my videos, you'll know about me going full kind of aggression and full clutch when it comes to Hulk doing a constant stun or an infinite stun. The idea about doing constant heavy attacks with a Punisher constantly stunning, it's like, could you just like thumb down, thumb down, thumb down, thumb down, thumb down, thumb down, thumb down. I'd be quite excited to get that character and kind of test that theory out. A constant stun from a heavy attack. It depends on the seconds though, because if it's a small amount of seconds, it might be difficult to reapply that. Well. On all shots, auto targeting cannot trigger a passive evade. This might be incredibly handy in the kind of a offensive mode, or kind of offensive usage in Alliance Wars, because a lot of people put the enemies of Nightcrawler, Spider-Man's, so that is going to be exciting to then see against those enemies. What is this character going to like? It's really putting into doubt with regards to what I'm doing with my 5-star shards. I kind of want to save up to 30k and try for 2, and like get 30k and just try and do 2 5-star versions of this, providing the character's put into 5-star feature, which it probably will be. And then there was someone, I think someone on Twitter said about the idea about replacing old Punisher with new Punisher in the arena crystals, and that would be cool. But I can imagine Kabam more interested about putting him in the featured and making him part of the an event. So, man, this is gonna be a very, very hot character to get. Judging by this section here, this Nanotech Overdrive, I can imagine it being a bit like, say, Black Panther, Civil War, and Dormammu, where you're gonna see in the top left-hand corner like a small kind of thing like this, and it's gonna be like a circle. And it's going to be numbers. It's going to be like, I don't know if it will be classed as percentages or how it will be classed, but I suppose then that's your gauge of, you know, how much battery you're getting. So when it hits 100%, it immediately goes into overdrive. Either way, if you're not applying the Nanotech 90% less power gain for the champion, then you're still doing some kind of power inhibiting. And I guess this is all, you know, dependent on rank, signature, and starage. And finally, Nanotech charging, grenade launcher, does exactly what it says on the tin. So if you've got good charge, then it means that you're going to be putting in loads of debuff effects to enemies. And it's kind of the way of describing Punisher is this. It's debuffing, it's punishing. Theoretically, it is punishing. All the stuff is charging equals punishing, and bit of regenning on the side. So there's positive effects for the character, and also there's a lot of negative effects for enemy character. Who couldn't want anything more in a champion? Where Carnage is concerned, yeah, we've got the bio here that well, I was hoping for. It was a little bit more to the depth of him, and kind of give him a little bit of a kind of a backstory, so to speak. As special attacks go, you know, there's not really much to kind of talk about. You know, Frenzied Assault, Rapid Onslaught, Arborant Soul. You know, these are just like things like Tentacle use seems to be tentacles. We seem to be seeing tentacles a lot. So Whether or not we'll see something similar to Venom with regards to tentacles launching, or we're going to see any kind of mutation-y, molecularly, blah blah blah, spreading of things. It would be quite exciting to see, but we won't see that for a little while. Bloodlust. Yeah, I wasn't too sure when I saw this what the kind of justification for it would be. But if you think about the level of insanity from the person prior to getting the symbiote, he did have a lust for blood because he was mental, he was insane. He liked to kill people. He did have a lust for blood. So it kind of puts more about, you know, what the person is to the symbiote rather than the symbiote is to the person. To kind of give people an idea with regards to that. Because a lot of people, I think, are very, very confused about how the blood aspect and the bleed element comes into this. And obviously by the signature ability, it's all about the enemy bleeding. So are we going to see some intensive amount of bleed on? So, you know, what's that going to be? It's going to be like, you bleed the enemy, you get a load of power gain. Simples. I have seen in this video in some of the comments that people have really kind of snubbed the symbiote special ability. Okay, so struck. Plus X armor, block proficiency, heavy attack, cruelty, light, precision, medium, fury, struck, resistance to physical, or physical resistance. I like that aspect. If you're kind of being very specific about how you're playing, then you can change it. So if this becomes a... I'm not kind of thinking that it's going to be a multitude of buffs. So every time you're struck, you get armor. Or when you block, you get block proficiency. Or heavy attack is then a constant. I think it's really... I think my kind of thinking is it going to be a constant buff? So are you going to see 5 buffs? Are you allowed 5 buffs up? So are you allowed a few? If you do a medium attack, constant fury buff. If you do a light attack, you know, constant precision buff. If you do a heavy attack, constant cruelty buff. I think how it works is as soon as one, I don't know if you do one attack, it then cancels another out. But I'm not 100% sure on this. It would be nice to get some more details. I think there's an issue with the video because there are missing elements to it. If you watch, and I'll put a link to this video in the description, if you watch to the end, it looks like we're missing a chunk of other abilities. So whether or not it hasn't been mined completely, or there is a, you know, the character hasn't really been 100% built yet, and obviously they've still got somewhat of a little bit of time. I think they've got another 5 days at the point that this video has been released to get get this champion kind of well polished. I think this is where the clarification comes in. So each time Carnage activates a special attack, he begins to mutate for X seconds. Once his mutation ends, he copies current symbiotic creation as a permanent buff. So does that, again, and obviously there's X permanent buffs, that could mean that of the ones that we just saw, so these ones here, so the Carnage symbiote changes from creating, so that is clarified. So these become permanent buffs. That could be pretty cool. So the idea that you can get, say, a precision, fury, and cruelty buff as a permanent buff. Now, are they nullifiable? That will be, again, the next thing. I think we'll only find out that when we actually get the character in game. And can we nullify said buffs? The idea that, yes, as I said, fury, precision, cruelty, armor, and resistance, or physical resistance, can be a constant or permanent buff, does put it into a very, very nice area of, damn, that could work out pretty well. I'm a little bit disappointed not to see a regeneration buff, like every time a combo is done that you get a regen, because that would be really putting Carnage into a very strong position as a pretty darn decent character. But, you know, you could say that Punisher would be a good enemy to have against this one. Or kind of, if you were offensive and you were taking your Punisher 2099 against Carnage. Because there's not really much going from, apart from the fact that I guess he's going to be an intense bleeder. So based on the amount of bleed, if the target is already bleeding, gain exponent chance to bleed, dealing X damage over X seconds. So is increasing the amount of bleed. I just don't think there could be a little bit more done for Carnage. I mean, yeah, it's great with regards to the idea about the permanent buffs, but you know, Venom got regeneration. Why can Carnage get it? Unless, like I said, the video goes up until 2 minutes 38, and it does look like there is aspects missing from here. So there could be more kind of lost information. My final thoughts on both characters are that I'm not sure if Carnage is going to be as big of deal as I think everyone would have hoped. When I go back to the times when Dormammu was added in, I was expecting something a bit more on the scale of godlike. I mean, he is pretty darn decent of a character, but someone with such a rich tapestry of special abilities and ass kickery was kind of implemented in with a low amount of physical resistance, which I don't entirely believe in. Likewise with Carnage, I think that we are missing a good amount of regeneration or regeneration buff. That should be on there, constant regeneration. I can understand why Kabam wouldn't want to put him in with regeneration because, well, in their minds, maybe they've tested him out and he's more powerful. However, I do believe that he should have regeneration. Whether or not it's from a combo or whatever and however you create it, maybe after doing a special, you then get a regeneration buff, which you then can turn into a permanent buff for the character. And obviously, if these then buffs are nullifiable, then it's not going to be, the character isn't going to be as good. If it's meant to be a bleeding champion, yeah, that's again all well and good, but Venom on paper would be more effective than this guy here. I really think that there should be a little bit more time given to put in very specific champions, and maybe it would be nice to kind of then speak to the community, maybe community feels before putting out a character that has a magnitude of a following, because theoretically Punisher 2099 would be more effective based on what he could do. He could then be more of an asset to go against Carnage. So creating two characters to go out, and one being better than the other, or one could be used to then defeat the other. Anyway, Punisher 2099 is a very, very good champion. I may go for him as a featured 5-star if he is going into the featured 5-star lot. I have to make a decision whether or how I'm spending my 5-star shards, and whether I want to save them for Punisher or not. I think I'll only know up until the point when he's actually released, and then maybe too late. But I like a lot of I like the signature ability. I like the idea about the battery charges and the positive buffs, and also the debuffing effects you can do on the enemy. Really, really do like that. And the punishing of the heal block, yeah, that's going to be pretty good. I think that Carnage is going to be a cosmic, and Punisher should be a tech, but knowing Kabam, they'll probably push him out to be a skill. But I'm hoping and praying for tech, because we need a little bit more better techs. We have a lot of techs, but we don't have very good techs. Ultron's good tech. Howard the Duck is becoming a better tech, which I didn't believe that for a second, but definitely coming that way. And this one here would be a good tech. Oh, and Yondu and Nebula good techs, though I do think Nebula is a tech, and Yondu is a cosmic with augmented bits. But anyway, that's another argument for another day. Thanks very much for watching this video. It's been about Carnage and Punisher 2099. And what's your thoughts in the comments? Which one do you want? Punisher 2099 or Carnage? Will you be going for one of them or the other one? Let me know. Let's start a discussion. Thanks very much for watching. Subscribe for more Marvel Contest of Champions, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye for now.